identified to be an exhibit. My understanding that it contains the Cellebrite extraction from Meagan Jackson's phone. And just confirm, I think the intention is she intends to put it in the evidence run. That it is complete with incredibly insightful character evidence, pictures of guns, emails going to Meagan Jackson showing pictures of guns. It violates every court order you've made thus far, every ruling. Guns, videos of guns, clients shooting, a client shooting a gun, information about the abuse and neglect case, pictures of dead people's bodies, graphic images of my client and others, racist dialogue, pictures of a miscarriage, and any other disturbing thing you can think of. It is the most comprehensive character. It would be like a case study on improper character evidence. And so before, that's not an argument I can make in front of the jury. I want to bring it to the court's attention. If she moves to introduce that, I'll be objecting under Rule 403. And I can't, I'm still in this, she would even attempt to reach the gun.
All right, state's position.
Your Honor, the defense will agree that I can admit excerpts from that extraction report, then I am happy to introduce that thumb drive as ID only. Because I have had Lieutenant Wells extract portions of that report that are relevant to this case.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's, I mean, the extraction is quite voluminous, so I can have Lieutenant Wells identify that that is the extraction he did if defense agrees to the different excerpts from the report.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. I think that would be appropriate. Obviously, I would, take a chance to look at what those are, but yeah, that'd be fine.
All right. All right, we'll follow that procedure then. All right, anything else from the defense before we bring the jury?
Yes, sir. Other than just, obviously, I can't wait. I don't know until I see it what the
Right.
excerpts are, but yes, otherwise, we're good.
That's fine. There's got to be a relevancy issue to the case.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's bring the jury in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I hope everyone had a good evening. We're ready to resume the trial of the case. Make sure you have your own notepads and no one else's notepads. All right, the state can call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Lieutenant Ben Wells.
Please raise your right hand and place your left hand on the Bible. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the evidence trying to give the court in this case be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Get you to state your name and then spell your last name for the court.
I'm Benjamin A. Wells, W-E-L-L-S.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Lieutenant Wells, where do you work?
I work for the Horry County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you worked there?
24 years.
What is your current position there?
I'm a lieutenant over electronic crimes.
What types of things does the electronic crimes unit do?
We take cell phones, computers, and digital evidence and analyze it to identify anything of evidentiary value.
How long have you been concentrating on electronic crimes?
Since 2010.
Did you receive any special training in order to work in electronic crimes or deal with electronic devices?
I have.
Can you describe what you've done?
I have been to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Glencoe, Georgia, and seized computer evidence recovery and digital evidence acquisition specialist. I'm a member of the Secret Service Cyber Crimes Task Force. I've been to the Secret Service has trained me at National Computer Forensics Institute in Hoover, Alabama. I have various vendor trainings and certifications.
What's your educational background?
I have an associate's degree in information technology. I have a bachelor's degree in computer forensics and digital investigations, and I'm currently pursuing my master's in digital forensics.
How much longer do you have in your master's?
Hopefully December.
Okay. Do you teach any seminars or courses in digital forensics?
I do. I'm a subcontractor and I teach Cellebrite.
Teach what?
Cellebrite certifications.
Thank you. Are you also a member of this Attorney General's ICAC task force?
I am. I do computer forensics for the Attorney General's Office for Internet Crimes Against Children and Human Trafficking.
So, because you teach it, I am assuming you are familiar with the Cellebrite software.
I am.
And can you tell us what it is?
The software works in a way to forensically pull the evidence or information off of a device and put it in a readable format so it's easier to go through and find stuff.
Is that readable format a report, like a Cellebrite report?
It is. It's a UFED reader report that we generate with the software.
What do you mean UFED reader report? And then is that UFED?
It's Universal Forensic Evidence Device. It's used for there's two separate programs. There's one for the extraction, and then there's one, once the extraction is off the device, it is parsed and analyzed and put into that readable format.
Is that readable format searchable by any user?
Yes, the Cellebrite reader, Cellebrite's proprietary, which you have to pay for a license, but the reader is a solution for the software to be able to give for free, so you can still go through it and look at the contents of the device.
Can you search by, for instance, a keyword or look for a photo?
There's lots of different search criteria. You can search through words, hash values, and different other categories, and many different.
Has Cellebrite been accepted as a forensic tool in courts across the country?
It has.
Are you, and again, you teach it, so I'm assuming that you've been trained in Cellebrite.
I have.
Okay. How long specifically have you been using it?
I've been using Cellebrite close to 13 years, 14 years.
And you mentioned that you have certain vendor certifications. Do you have any certifications from Cellebrite?
I do.
Can you tell us what they are?
I have a CCO, which is a certified Cellebrite operator, certified Cellebrite physical analyst. I'm a CASA, which is a advanced Cellebrite course for parsing and analyzation. And I also have what's called the CCME. I'm a certified Cellebrite mobile examiner, which is the highest certification that you can get within the company.
What is required to obtain those certifications?
You have to take the classes and pass a graded test.
Are you also familiar with a tool called Gray Key?
I am.
And what is that?
Gray Key is another extraction tool. It is used to get the data from the device, the same as Cellebrite.
Have you been trained on using that tool?
I have.
And have you received any certifications in that?
Yes, I have the Gray Key certified operator.
Approximately how many electronic devices have you examined using either Cellebrite and or Gray Key?
I would venture into the thousands.
Okay. What do you, when you've said, talk about data on a phone, what do you mean?
Well, of course, when somebody uses a device and it has to have those records in ones and zeros. So it's anything that the user will interact with the device, system interacts with the device, and to be able to see exactly what's on it. It kind of paints the picture of the data on the device.
And when you say extraction, what do you mean?
Well, because we can't do, you don't want to search a device on the device because then you're altering evidence. What we do is we forensically acquire that copy in order so we can manipulate and work with that, and then we validate it and verify it against them.
Well, when you say manipulated, are you changing, are you changing any data in the extraction?
No, that was actually a very poor choice of words, but it's not manipulated, but it's to be able to go through it and, be able to see the different categories and see what is exactly there.
Have you ever been qualified as an expert in the field of digital forensics in South Carolina?
I have,
Approximately how many times?
twice.
And were you asked to extract data from phones in this case?
I was.
Are you always able to extract data from a phone?
I am not.
What affects whether you can extract data from a phone?
Well, there's a lot of different things. It just depends. It could be encryption. It could be passcodes, the hardware, newer versions. We're always trying to fight. We all know that our cell phones, they come up with security updates all the time, and there's just a plethora of things that can keep us from getting in the device.
Are there different types of extractions?
There are.
What are they?
Well, a lot of, there are three basic ones, which is your physical extraction, which is a complete extraction, physical extraction of the ones and zeros, which has what's called unallocated space. That unallocated space is deleted material. Then there's file system extraction, and that's basically all the files that are in the file system, in the user file system. And then there's what it's called an advanced logical or logical, and it is basically what you see on the device.
Now, when you talk about unallocated space for deleted items, does that unallocated, and I may not be using the right terminology, but does that unallocated space ever get written over, so it would be potentially you would be losing deleted advice?
In a physical, yes, in a
information?
physical extraction, yes.
Your Honor, at this time I would offer Lieutenant Wells as an expert in digital forensics.
All right, any challenges or questions?
Yes, sir, a few questions. So, it's my understanding, I kind of get a feel for this. Which kind of extraction did y'all do? Physical or logical? What was the?
Whatever we can get.
Which extraction did you do? Which type? The category?
It depends on which device we're talking about.
Okay. Which devices did you extract in this case?
Objection, Your Honor. I haven't even gotten to the extractions in this case. This is just about whether or not Lieutenant Wells is an expert.
All right. I sustain the objection.
Okay. All right, let me ask you this. In terms of, what I think I heard you say was you did some physical in this case and some logical, is that right?
It just,
Again, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow that. Go ahead.
it depends on the device. If there's some devices with file-based encryption that you can't do a physical.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about your training. So you're still in the process of completing your training, is that right, in digital forensics? You're looking to get your master's?
Completing my master's, yes.
Yes, sir. Okay. In 2000, we're let's see, 4 years removed. So in 2020, where were you in your educational journey?
Completing my bachelor's.
You started it in 20, takes a while.
Well, maybe my associates in it. Maybe it could be. I'm not exactly sure when.
Okay.
But before that, I'd received trainings throughout from the Secret Service and throughout the Department of Homeland Security in order to further solidify everything. I wanted to put a official degree behind it.
Sorry, I didn't understand that response.
I had a lot of training beforehand.
Okay. All right. That's fair. And remind me what that training beforehand was specifically in.
Specifically I've done trainings in advanced cell phone forensic acquisitions, advanced cell phone analyzation, network intrusion, cyber intrusion.
Okay, and those things sound more to me like, it's just what I'm trying to understand. That training sounds like it is more related to finding out if somebody has committed like a cyber crime. Is that fair to say?
There are trainings within that do that, yes, but this is what we call dead box forensics or mobile forensics.
Okay. What specific training do you have related to extracting data from the phone?
From extracting, I have the CCOs, CCPAs, which were week-long courses with the extraction. I did a 5-week course at the National Computer Forensics Institute in Hoover, Alabama, with the Secret Service to extract devices, and also teach it.
Okay. Are you intending to offer any opinions in this case related to digital forensics?
If necessary.
Okay. Are you here to give us an opinion about the extraction itself, to just confirm the extraction, or are you going to give some other opinion beyond the extraction?
I got to be asked the questions first, right?
I don't know. I imagine you've gotten prepared for this, and then you have an idea of what you're here to testify to, don't you, sir?
I do.
Okay. Because I don't have any kind of report from you or anything, or any kind of, that I'm aware of, any kind of specific report.
Objection, Your Honor. The extraction report is the report, and that was provided years ago.
Okay, if that's all right. If that's the basis, that moves me in the right direction. Okay, so now let's talk about the report itself. You, in your studies, are familiar with some of the issues with Cellebrite, right? Some of the public criticism of Cellebrite.
Elaborate.
Are you familiar with any of the criticisms of Cellebrite and its use in criminal investigations?
Oh, there's criticisms on a lot of things. I mean, people have opinions on things. I'm not sure what you're asking.
Are you familiar with any of those criticisms?
I'm familiar with, people, sometimes it's too slow and it takes a long time to open. And
are you familiar with the criticisms related to its reliability, sir?
I'm not familiar with them.
Are you familiar with criticisms related to the inability to recover certain deleted items?
Am I familiar with?
The criticisms related to the fact that there can be deleted material from a phone that the Cellebrite program will not allow to be recovered.
That's not necessarily would be an accurate statement, because it's not necessarily the Cellebrite that's not able to recover it. There's too many variables within that would consist in not being able to recover data.
Okay. You'd agree with me, wouldn't you, that in terms of, there is, one of the other criticisms is that Cellebrite can be manipulated, right? You can manipulate the extraction. Agree with that?
Anything can be manipulated, but it's forensically sound through hash values and matching values to be able to ensure that data is not manipulated or changed at all.
So when a piece of evidence gets into a digital forensics expert's hands, they have an opportunity, they could manipulate that evidence before it's extracted.
It would take a lot of, it would be extremely geekified and able to do it.
Okay. But an expert would have that geekified intelligence.
Possible, but not probable.
Okay. Okay. All right. How about this cross-validation? Did you do anything in this case to cross-validate the extractions that you performed?
I did. I validated the information by going into databases and looking at the actual information and being able to look in other softwares too.
Okay, now I want to make sure I understand this. Are you telling me in the jury that you looked at every image on these phones?
Absolutely not.
Okay, all right. What did you review?
I reviewed different things that were evidentiary value that were brought to me from the detectives.
Okay, so you looked at cherry-picked portions of the extraction, is that what you're telling me?
I validated it.
Okay, so I just want to understand what was going on here. They give you a portion of an extraction, and then you would go validate that? Is that what you're telling me?
They would. It's impossible for me to know exactly every detail of an investigation. That's what the reader is. It's a force multiplier. So in an event where there are massive amounts of data in a cell phone, and being one person being able to go through that, it's not just. You can't do that. It's designed to be a force multiplier so many people can collaborate and be able to come up with the evidence that is needed in the case, and then it is validated by me.
Okay. So we're in agreement that in terms of whatever evidence, if this evidence is in its pure original form, it is too voluminous to even be studied in completeness.
Objection. What evidence? I'm not really sure.
The extraction. Did you agree with that?
That's why it's categorized and used into the Cellebrite reader, so it's able to be viewed.
Okay.
If you're looking at it as on a computer with a folder and you're trying to go through it by looking at folders, you will never be able to get through everything. Apps are sandboxed, so everything is, within its own app. So that's where the Cellebrite software is able to parse it, categorize it, and make it where you can read it, and you're able to search.
And do you have any? Is Cellebrite software something you have any control over?
Control as.
I'm sorry. Do you know the methodology? Have you been involved in any way, shape, or form with the software of Cellebrite, other than using it in terms of like its creation?
No.
Okay. Any of its algorithms? Cellebrite will not share that. Isn't that correct?
It's proprietary.
And so you're having to put your confidence in the actual software and program, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't independently verify that the program itself is not flawed.
That's not true.
Okay, that's not true. I'm asking.
Yeah, you can go validate. I can validate the information. You can use. I can go into the databases and make sure that it's reporting the correct information.
Okay. But you can't validate the software itself, right?
That is validating that the software is doing what it's supposed to do.
Okay. Well, the software gives you a product, right? An extraction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How can you validate it?
I can look at the device.
Sorry?
You can look at the device, but I mean, it's large, yeah.
Okay. So it is extremely difficult, would you agree, to cross-validate the device?
No.
You can cross-validate it in small portions. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I can generate a hash for the entire extraction. And that's what Cellebrite does, is it'll generate.
Objection, Your Honor. I'd like him to allow the witness to answer the question. I believe Lieutenant Wells was still
All
talking.
right, finish your answer.
Well, hash values are a fingerprint. What this does, it's an algorithm. There's certain ones, MD5, SHA-1, SHA-256, and these are basically fingerprints of the entire extraction. And they are generated, and as long as they are any type of manipulation, any type of change whatsoever to that, will completely change the hash value of the extraction. So that's how we ensure that evidence hasn't been manipulated, and that what we're working with is correct.
Okay. But the body that might be potentially manipulating it, the agency or the department, is you guys going to extract this. When you didn't, this wasn't sent to a third party to verify the extraction. You were doing it in-house, correct?
I don't understand what you mean, third party.
Well,
Technically, I am a third party. I mean, I'm with the sheriff's office. This was a county police investigation.
Got it. So I'm not saying you're not SLED, right? Like, DNA samples, we send those over to SLED. Is that?
Correct.
Now, you've been qualified how many times?
Twice so far.
Okay. And what were you qualified as in those two cases?
I was qualified as an expert in digital forensics, and I was qualified as digital extractions. I think it was a digital extractions.
Okay. And so those are two different subsets of qualifications. Is that what they're telling me?
The digital extraction would be part of digital forensics. So the first time I was qualified would have been digital extractions, and then the digital forensics encompasses all of that.
Okay. Let me just make sure I understand. Digital extractions and digital forensics, which one's the big umbrella?
Forensics.
Forensics, okay. And you've been qualified as an expert in digital forensics one time?
And one time for that, yes.
Okay. And then and then one time for the smaller category of digital extraction?
Yes, sir.
In the case where you were qualified as an expert in digital extraction, what program was used in that case for extraction?
Cellebrite.
Have you ever been denied as a witness?
I have not.
Have you ever testified in federal court?
No,
Were you qualified in the 15th Circuit as an expert?
I was.
And in those two instances, what was how many phones were you asked to extract in those cases?
I don't recall.
Your Honor, I believe, based on written experience, I would move strikes witness as an expert.
All right. I find this witness to be an expert in the field of digital forensics, so we become this adjourned.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Did you extract data from at least one device in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that, well, actually, let me just. Your Honor, if I may approach with admitted exhibit 19. And actually, let me give you the extraction also. I'm approaching with State's Exhibit 92, which I would ask to be marked for identification. Admitted for identification.
May I refer to my notes?
Your Honor, may the witness refer to his notes to verify that that is the phone.
Yes, this is the phone.
Okay, just make sure you keep your voice up, please.
Yes, this is the phone,
Okay.
the device.
And how are you verifying that?
Well, first of all, each device has a unique identifier, which is IMEI, International Mobile Equipment Identifier. Our identity.
Slow down a little bit. We're trying to type everything down.
Sorry. And that's basically a unique identifier for the device, which I cross-referenced that with the report that's in front of me, or the pictures that are in front of me with the device. I have documented pictures of when I did the extraction, and I verified that the IMEI number is the same.
Okay. And so is 92 the extraction of data that you performed from State's Exhibit 19?
Yes. And
Did you? Yeah.
yes, it is.
And how are you verifying that that is the extraction that you performed?
I validated it before court and initialed this.
Okay. Thank you. Do you need to keep this in front of you just so you're sure what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is there a phone number associated with that phone?
Yes, ma'am, there is. 1-513-252-4742.
Okay. So the area code is 513. You put the one in front of it.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any unique personal identifiers associated with the phone? So not the IMEI, but other identifiers.
The owner's name is Mouse, and I believe this was also backed up to a MacBook Pro with the user of Meagan Jackson.
Where did you get that phone?
It was given to me by Horry County evidence.
Did they also give you the password to the phone?
Yes, they did.
Were you able to extract data from the phone? Well, obviously you were able to extract data because you've identified that already. When you performed the extraction, did you add, change, or delete any information?
I did not.
What did you do once you performed that extraction?
Once I performed the extraction, I took the extraction and I parsed the data in the physical analyzer, which is the program to categorize it to make it more easy to search.
Did you then provide that to the solicitor's office for disclosure and discovery?
I did.
Were you asked, I'm going to jump ahead 1 second, were you asked to examine that extraction and another extraction for specific content?
I was.
Was that other extraction that you were asked to review done by Sergeant Marcus?
Yes, one of them was.
I'm approaching with admitted exhibit 95. Is that the extraction of Erica Dontell's phone that you reviewed?
It is.
How are you recognizing it?
I recognized my signature or initials on the jump drive before or after I reviewed the content.
Now, I think Mr. Britton covered that those extractions are fairly voluminous. So for the items that you were asked to examine, did you prepare excerpts of those voluminous reports?
Yes, I did.
So were you asked to examine, let's start with Exhibit 95, the extraction from Erica Dontell's phone. Were you asked to examine that extraction for any information on her phone of someone trying to expose the affair between the defendant and Christopher Dontell?
I was.
Did you find any?
I did.
And before I get to your first excerpt, does Cellebrite categorize data in much the same manner as your actual phone? So it would separate, say, photos, calls, messages?
It does.
object is introduced, there's character evidence on this.
Where is this identified?
Exhibit 98, Your Honor, is an excerpt of an already admitted extraction. Your Honor, while we're doing that, if I can approach Lieutenant Wells.
Correct. Yeah.
I'm showing you State's Exhibit 98. Is that an excerpt that you prepared regarding information that word of the affair was sent to Erica Dontell?
It is.
Your Honor, at this time, with the redaction, I would move to admit State's Exhibit 98.
All right, State's Exhibit 98 admitted into evidence over defendant's objection, subject to the redactions corrected by.
Yes, and I've redacted the physical copy. I'm just waiting on redaction of the digital copy.
That's fine.
In what part of the phone did you find that evidence?
This was located in the MMS SMS database.
What's that, for those of us who don't speak that language?
Everything has to be, information is stored in databases, so it's accessible by the applications. And this is where a database is a large Excel spreadsheet, essentially. And it's separated into columns and rows. And this is where it stores that information on the back end to where the application or the device can show it to you the way you see it.
I'm sorry. Court's indulgence, I'm just trying to make sure that the redaction is done. Okay. And, sorry. Can you describe what Exhibit 98 is?
This is a excerpt from an instant message conversation.
Your Honor, I have verified the extraction. May we publish Exhibit 98?
Yes.
And so, what are you able to tell what program was used to send these messages?
From the party, the from party, it's registering as contact@textforfree.net.
Are you familiar with text for free?
I am.
Can you describe to the jury what it is?
Text for free is it's a texting application that you can use if you don't have cellular service. It's used to be send text anonymously to where it can't be brought back to you.
Okay, you want to zoom in on the first one. Does that show when the first text was received?
Yes, the direction was incoming, so it came in 9/27/2020 at 3:35:27 p.m.
And what is that first text?
Your number is posted on the special ed curriculum. I thought you should know I found out your husband has someone else pregnant.
And what's the next text?
The girl that is pregnant is Meagan. Ask her. Then redacted.
Let me go back to the first text that was sent at 3:35 p.m. And I'm going to show you. Your Honor, I'm approaching the State's Exhibit 156. Is that an excerpt of the extraction from Erica Dontell's phone showing a reaction to the first text for free message?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I would move to admit State's Exhibit 156 in public.
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
You say yes?
Yes, sir, Your Honor. Yeah, yes, sir.
State's Exhibit 156, admitted into evidence without objection.
So, and this again was from Erica Dontell's phone.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a date and time stamp for that first text message? This needs to move as fast as possible. We have an emergency.
Yes, ma'am.
And what is it?
I'm sorry.
What is the date and time stamp?
9/27/2020 at 3:40.
So about 5 minutes after that first text for free text?
That's correct.
Okay. Let me go back to exhibit 1. After that, first text at 3:35, did text continue to come in from the text for free app?
After the 3:35, yes.
When was the next one?
5:45:23 p.m.
And what does that text say?
The girl that is pregnant is Meagan. Ask her, question mark.
When did the next text come in?
The next text would have been at 7:25 on 9/27.
And what does that say?
Meagan Jackson, Chris Dontell, Savannah Rice, Josephina Nakawatsa, Flight 4652 Myrtle Beach, September 24th, 7:01 a.m. Flight 1944, Jacksonville, 10.
What was the next text?
Next one was 7:25:25 on 9/27. Ask her neighbors how often his, it's cut off on this one.
And why would the text message be cut off like that? Why weren't you able to recover the whole thing?
Well, this is in a timeline, so it would have cut it off. It could have. There's a lot of different reasons that it couldn't have pulled it.
What's the next text?
It's a link for https://ibb.co/bqhr82r.
Okay, and what is IBD?
IBB is a image hosting site.
What do you mean?
Well, if you want to share an image or without directly sending the image, you can upload it to the site. It'll create a link for you, and then you can just send that hyperlink.
Did you, in fact, follow that link or type that link into a browser and try and pull it up?
I did.
Are you just identifying this, or are you trying to?
I'm trying to admit it.
You know, I'm having a hard time reading it. It's just difficult for me to see the print's pretty small. No, I mean, it's something else. I present to the jury to decipher this. I can't read it. Give a.
Let me see it.
Your Honor, I'm going to approach also with 90B, which is
Address a matter of law, so I'm going to excuse back to the jury room, leave the notepad in the jury box, and not discuss this.
which is the same text conversation from someplace else, without forecasting my questions, but this version is easier to read.
Okay, all right, that's the thing, is this is so small.
Right, but this is from the website. This is from the website, so we can't control the
98A.
quality. 98A is from the IMGDD website, so that's how it pulls up. We have no control over the clarity of that.
But I mean, if I can't read it, how can the jury read it?
Because this is the same conversation, and you can match up the readable portions of the blue portions here. I think
Okay.
are the ones that are difficult.
So 98B
B,
is just a larger printed form of 98A.
from a different source. It'll be clear after I ask my questions, but,
Well, let's proffer it then.
okay, all right. I'm just gonna give you 98A and 98B. All right, so is 98A the image that you accessed using that IDD link?
It is. It is.
Just have to say that out loud. And then, were you able to find that same text conversation in the defendant's phone?
I was.
Is that what's depicted in 98B?
It is.
And how are you able to tell that it is the same text conversation?
Well, I can actually kind of turning over B. I can read it. I make it a point of spending time with you, and I love spending time with you. I like to have sex with you. I make it a point of avoiding Erica, and she makes me sick. And I don't have sex with her. There isn't a comparison. So I can actually identify the first text message, and then when I come to the report,
And Your Honor, if I may, can we pull up the digital version of 98A? Ms. Waller has it on her computer, and it appears more legible than the printed version.
Well, I mean, how do I know that that's that? I mean, 98A, I'm looking at it, and I can see the first thing, the dark blue, that's printed in light blue, I can't.
Well, you'll be able to tell it. Go ahead.
Your Honor, we'd be able to,
Hold for a second. You're gonna have, I mean, I don't have any problem with the way, with the proper testimony.
I understand that. The only problem I would have with proper testimony is I don't really understand, and maybe it's just me, where he is claiming that message, whatever he was just reading involved sex, where it came from. Because that sounds like it's not part of the extraction, which is what he was qualified to testify about.
Well, I understand the second one, 98B, came off the first phone.
Right, so-
That's fine.
That's
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Your Honor.
Right.
So, Exhibit 98 was the text for free texts that were sent to Erica Dontell. One of those texts contained an IDB link. So, in order to show that that text conversation existed in the defendant's phone, Lieutenant Wells just typed in that link, like anyone can do. Like, this is what you would get if you typed in that link. And it pulled up that photo of the text conversation. Then he looked for that text conversation on the defendant's phone. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Your
So
Honor,
that's sort of what we're trying to prove.
I understand.
I don't be disrespectful, but I feel like he should be excused during this conversation.
No, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna allow it.
Hold on, could I just be heard on it? I think what they're trying to do, as I'm hearing it on now, and I think it's extremely prejudicial and very misleading. If they're attempting to say that Meagan Jackson sent the anonymous message to Greg Rice through this conversation, which is about sex, which is unrelated, and that is extremely misleading and improper.
Well,
I'm going to overrule it, I'll allow it.
Okay,
thank you.
could I have some time to try to read that myself?
We're also trying to reprint it, but if you wanted to look on these computers.
You can definitely read it on
And John, just while I'm having a chance here, as we're in the break, this isn't anything, in terms of a confrontation clause issue, this is not a position, nowhere in their report have we ever been provided any kind of summary or conclusion or idea that that was sent by Meagan Jackson, that the anonymous message was the machination of Meagan Jackson. That is a new position they have taken at the start of this trial. And now they've come in and qualified an expert to try to link that without her having any opportunity to confront that. It's completely improper.
Overruled, I'll allow it.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. May I go approach this computer for a second?
All right. Break or anything before we bring the jury back in?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we're just trying to print it downstairs so that it's in color and perhaps more readable.
It's just to a better printer. I think it'll come out clear, Your Honor.
How long will the break be?
5 or
10
10 to be safe, I would say, Your
All
Honor.
right, let's take a 10-minute break. We'll come back. Officer Wells, you cannot discuss your testimony. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we'll break for 10 minutes.